Okay, next solid on our list, we will talk about ionic. Ionic solids have electrostatic attraction of positive and negative atoms, ions. It's a network. And because the electrons are localized, which is different based on the last one we just talked about, where they are free to roam, these electrons are localized. It is not conductive. Sorry. So again, in metals, the electrons are not localized. They are free to roam, so electricity flows on through it. The electrons flow. But in ionic solids, they are localized. They are stuck at that particular location. So because of positive and negatives. So therefore, they do not flow. They are not conductive. Now, in general, as the radius increases, the melting point is the trend. The melting point decreases as the charge on the atoms increases. The melting point increases. So they act differently, inversely. And this is according to the electrostatic potential energy, Coulomb's law. Q1, Q2 are the charges of the atoms and the diameter radius of the atoms. Now, also going on with these guys is they are brittle. And in general, they have a high melting point because of what we just discussed here. Okay, those guys are done. Let's move on to molecular solids. Molecular solids are different from the other ones because they have individual molecules. So the other ones so far we've talked about are all networks. So ionic solids is a network of sodiums and chlorides and things like that that are just stuck together forever. Moleculars are different because it's an H2O molecule, period, done. And they're attracted to other H2O molecules through intermolecular attractions. So individual molecules held together by intermolecular forces. Now, based on what we've already talked about, these forces are weak. Therefore, typically soft, and they have low melting points. And as far as conductivity and electrical, they're poor. So we don't think of those as conductors. One more in this list. Covalent. Sometimes we refer to it as network covalent or covalent network. This is the one that people kind of get lost on. For network covalent, the atoms are held together by covalent bonds. So they're sharing pairs of electrons. What this does is it gives the molecules, or the structure, I should say the structure. I don't want some molecules. Excuse me. It gives the structure a high melting point. Now, one of the things you're going to be able to tell for these substances, they're also brittle, but they're also very hard. The atoms you typically find are going to be in the metalloids because it give us that, so they're not metals. They're typically just a few different atoms that are in here, but many times you're going to have metalloids in there. So examples of that would be silicon, arsenic, sometimes germanium, and actually even carbon, even though it's not considered to be a metalloid, but that's very common. Actually, I would say carbon is the most common one you're going to find, carbon or silicon. But you're going to have some of those guys in there. I said this is AR, which is not. I'm doing arsenic, that's AS. Oops. There we go. So you're going to have some combination either just of one atom or a combination of others. So for example, silicon dioxide is a very common one that you will see, which is sand. Or glass. This is a network covalent or covalent network substance. So many times it's going to have a metalloid atom in there, and they're held together by covalent bonds, which is different from the ionic. So you don't have those charged particles creating electrostatic attraction. Okay, let's finish up the problems, and we'll be done. We are on 51, so this is a little bit of a carryover from some of the things we were talking about previously. We've got a group of different molecules, these guys here. Place the following in order of increasing volatility. So least amount of attraction, well, greatest volatility, which means the first ones we're going to list here have very little volatility, which means they stick together. So the ones first are going to be ones that stick together, and the last ones will be the ones that are most volatile, increasing volatility. So we're going to probably think about kind of like London dispersion and dipole-dipole. So the one I would say that has the most stickiness is going to have the most London dispersion. And based on these guys here, it looks like bromine is the heaviest atom. And the one that has most bromines would be this guy here. So I'm going to call this one number 1. And I'm going to go on the far end. How many of these have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The one that has the least amount of bromines in here is that one. So I'm going to call that 6. So just by process, I'm going to kind of carry on through here. If this one's got 4, that one's got 3. So that's the next closest one. And then this one's got 2. And then where do we go from there? I have these two choices. So 3 hydrogens versus 2 hydrogens, chlorines and chlorines. I'm going to say this is going to be the next one on here. And the one with the next volatility will be this one on there. So I think that should work out. Going from here to there. So yep, that works out. Okay, how do the boiling points vary going through the series? And I'll just go ahead and write that down here, which we already kind of talked about. As the bromines are replaced by hydrogen or chlorines, it becomes more volatile. As I mentioned already, as the bromines are replaced by chlorine, also more volatile. Done. All right, 58, last question. What is the significance of the triple point in a phase diagram? That is a point where the solid, the liquid, and the gas all coexist at some temp and pressure. Could you measure triple point of water by measuring the temperature in a vessel at which water vapor, liquid water, and ice are in equilibrium under 1 atmosphere of air? And we talked about this when we were going through that part of the notes. And no, you couldn't. And the reason you can't is you need to be at some specific, but in this case, higher pressure. In other words, you're not going to have a gas unless you're at that, well, the higher pressure, but the other parts of the phase, if you take a look at the diagram, you need to be at a higher pressure to get all three of those together. You can't shift and say, well, I'm going to do it at this temperature, or I'm going to do it at that pressure. It is defined at one specific temperature and pressure for that. So there's our answer. And we are done with the notes and problems for chapter 11 and 12.